going to go to invoicing and accounts receivable. And since we just raised some information, I'm going to walk through that with you. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the account. You're now going to see that I've raised an invoice. Bear with me one second. I think I have two of these guys in here. So now under IT dues, you'll see that their current balance is the $1691.30, which I just raised for them. Currently, they haven't paid any amount. I have not collected or asked for a deposit from them. And the credit limit in the system mimics what you have under the deposit. Basically, what that's going to tell you is that if you have a deposit collected or is holding that on their account, that kind of acts as a credit limit. So you know anything above and beyond what you've collected as a deposit or the last month's rent, if they go over that, you have no kind of cushion with the customer. Anything that's over that is money that you may not be able to return on if they have a greater balance or if they should heed any damages to your location. So that's really just what credit limit is there for. It's more of a resource field, just so you know what the deposit is, and anything above that, again, is kind of not spoken for financially. Under the accounts receivable, you can manage transactions by drop downs. You can do up until now, yesterday transactions, today's transactions. You can do custom date fields. You can display just generated invoices, any journal credits, payments received, or I can just click this button and it'll let me know just outstanding invoices only, invoices that haven't been paid. Now, if you're making a payment on the member portal, it'll automatically balance out and show an accounts receivable, because again, it's part of the integration via a Stripe or a PlacePay or whichever of the payment processors that you're going through that we integrate with. If for some reason you allow your customers to pay by cash or check or wire transfers, unfortunately, our system doesn't connect to your bank. So we are unable currently to automatically issue the payments in the system. So what you guys will need to do, if it's a cash check or direct ACH wire transfer, I should say, not through the member portal, that's done outside of the member portal, what you guys will need to do is raise a manual payment in the system. So you're just putting in the information that you received to balance it out in the system. This way, if you do a financial export, it'll equal or balance out correctly to your QuickBooks or your Sage or whichever payment processor that you're working with. On the right-hand side, you can see some options here. You have the ability to see events. So if people make changes under the accounts receivable or raise credit, again, it'll show you all of what is going on with the accounts receivable there, who did what. You have the ability to create a journal credit. Now, we have, again, under invoicing and credit notes, we'll show you how to issue a credit note from the system. Really, journal credits should only be for really small monetary amounts that you're writing off. So if you have that you're just going to write off the 15 cents or the 25 cents that they owe you, you can do that for a journal credit. But for any major amount of money, I would always suggest that you guys use credit notes to kind of balance that out or issue a credit to the customer. If you've received a bounce check, you can mark it through the bounce check button. What that will allow you to do is also add an additional fee if you need to for the bounce check. You can add a deposit or that last month's rent at any time via the accounts receivable. It doesn't have to be done through the agreement if in case you forgot or you collected it at a separate time. We can refund the deposit. So if you have a deposit here, basically refunding the deposit isn't going to issue the refund through your payment processor or the bank. It's just going to refund the deposit from our account, so it balances out the system from the deposit that you've done on your end. You also can do a deposit offset, which is more than likely what you guys are going to be doing. Since you're collecting the last month's rent, but you don't actually know when the customer's last month is, unless you're signing like a traditional agreement for a term start and end date. What you want to do is once they give you notice and their last month comes up, you can use this deposit offset button to apply that last month's credit directly to the invoice you raised for their last month. Right now, I'm going to hit the payment button and I'm going to show you how to manually enter a payment into the system in case, again, they're giving it via check or cash or some sort of payment that is not linked to the payment processor. So if I hit payment, the first thing it's going to ask me is the date that they made this payment. So we'll just use today's date for this example. If they paid 5 days ago, you want to record the exact date that they've given you the payment. Now, the reference can be anything that you decide to use internally. This is your internal workflow. Most of the time, I say it's a new payment. You can say to invoice, invoice number 3, if I can spell today. Comments, if there's any specific reference numbers or wire transfer reference number, any information that you want to put in, you can put here for you to reference at a later time. Your GL code is either going to be your service retainer or bank. Payment type is going to be check because that's what I collected. I can also put in comments the check number here, so we can say it was check number 305, and don't worry, I will change check to be the American version. And then you want to add your amount paid. Now, amount paid is going to be exactly what they've given you as payment, even if it's 10 cents higher than what they should have given you, even if it's $20 short of what they should have given you, that's what you want to put in the amount paid. For this, just say that they've given us the exact payment of what they owed. So I'm going to type it into amount paid, hit the tab button, and now you'll see we have an unallocated amount. The next step is once you create a payment, you need to allocate that monetary amount to the specific invoice or outstanding balance. So if I had 2 invoices that this customer wanted to put money towards, I can put the exact amount in the amount fields of all the invoices that they wanted to pay. But since they only have 1 open invoice with that outstanding amount associated, I'm just going to allocate this amount in full and hit that button. It's going to remove the outstanding balance field because now we're paying in full this invoice. And I can go ahead and hit OK. And now you'll see that my balance is 0. It'll show the full amount paid. And you can see down here that now a payment has been received and both of the outstanding amounts are 0. And the outstanding amount is really important because that is what actually tells the integration we have with your payment processor what should be charged on the member portal. If you don't balance out this invoice and there's an outstanding amount associated, the integration is going to think that it still needs to charge that customer because you haven't allocated a payment to that particular invoice. Again, if they're making the payment via the portal though, that's something that it will automatically happen on its own. You guys don't have to do it yourself. You also have an option. I'm just going to delete this payment for right now so I can show you a few other things. You do have the option, and we can create different templates for you. We just have a standard one in the system at the moment. If a customer owes a specific amount, you can raise a statement to send to them by clicking on the transactions that you want to show them and pulling up this statement template. Again, you have the ability to adjust this if you don't like what it is or you want to provide your bank information, you can do that as well. But basically, it's just sending them a reminder that this is the amount due now. Maybe I'm going to send this to them before I charge them a late fee so that they're aware that they still have an open balance. We can also automate the system to automatically send emails out based on when the invoices were created. So maybe 20 days after you create the invoice or 10 days after you create the invoice, if there's an open balance, you automatically want to have the system send an email to the customer reminding them that they're going to incur a late fee if they don't pay within the next 3 days. So keep in mind, these are things we can automate. So when we have our next conversation, one-on-one, this is something that you definitely want to start bringing up, sending any templates to the support that you need so we can create them for you, or we can talk to Rocky about if you are looking to set something special up. And that's pretty much your account receivable overview. It's pretty simple. Once we have all of your payment processors up and running, we can start to work together one-on-one to show you how transactions work and how they'll look in the accounts receivable. But at the moment, we don't